Welcome to the Flip Squad video. We're gonna go over 13 items that we made as rookie resellers that really hampered us to get a little bit better. And if I knew this stuff beforehand, it would have probably been a lot easier. So if you are a new reseller, or you're looking into getting reselling, or you just want to know some stuff that I did that was pretty dumb, that really cost some money and time, stick around because we're gonna go ahead and get right into 13 things that I did as a rookie reseller that not so good. These are in no particular order either. These were just ones that were coming to my mind. There isn't one that's like better than the other one, or absolutely don't do this. I mean, all of these right here, if you can learn to get these things under control, it makes like life a lot easier in reselling. We've been reselling now, I think I've been doing it for about 5 years now, full time for about 4 years, and eBay is still our biggest revenue generator for us. So it is one of those things, like, we literally pay all of our bills through this. This is what we do. Kayla and I, if you didn't know, my wife and I are full-time resellers and YouTubers. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. First one is gonna be learning shipping. There's a ton of subsets about learning shipping. One, get a good scale. I had actually a scale I bought off Amazon, and I did like the cheapest scale possible. Turns out that it actually wasn't correctly calibrated. Like, you could try to zero it out, it still would not work correctly, and it was reading, I think, actually over the ounces. And so I was getting like refunded back from the post office because I was paying more money than I should have been. So just make sure your scale, even check it, like, put up something that you know weighs 5 pounds, like a 5-pound thing of sugar on, and make sure it's reading what it's supposed to read, or just get a better scale if you can afford it, because once we've got the better scale, then we stop getting all those overage charges or underage charges. So the scale is very important. That's one of the first things that you probably also need to buy as a reseller. You don't need fancy equipment, you don't need dymos, you don't need Rolo printers, you don't need all that fancy stuff, but a really good scale is one of those things that I would probably buy early on in a tape measure, so you can actually make sure you have the correct measurements of the box that you're shipping. Also, don't buy your postage at the post office. A lot of people early on was like, you're lying about how you can ship golf clubs. Well, I found out that most of the people that were saying that were going to the UPS store and then trying to ship their golf clubs like that. That is completely wrong. Buy it on eBay or buy it through a third party. We use Pirate Ship. And the reason why we use Pirate Ship is, I think like last year we did $30,000 or $40,000 in shipping cost. So what we did, we put that on a business credit card and then got the cash back from the shipping cost. So that's why we use Pirate Ship. If you're not doing that type of volume, the cash back probably wouldn't really be worth the difference of doing that. But definitely don't go to the post office. You're going to be spending 30 or 40% more at the post office than actually doing it online. So make sure you do that. And then all you need is a printer. You don't need a dymo with the sticky backs or anything like that, shipping labels. You just need a printer and tape it on. We did that for a year before we actually, and we didn't buy a dymo. Kat the Nurse Flipper actually gifted us one. And then we did get a cheaper thermal printer for this room later on. So also another one is shipping, as in like learning how to pack things. Breakables, there's certain ways you can use cardboard that helps out. Make sure you're using good quality bubble wrap. We use a lot of paper. It's gonna be kind of trial and error because as you get better at shipping, it gets a little bit easier, but in the beginning, it is a daunting task. If you like sold a huge vase or something and you're like, how in the world am I gonna ship this? In the beginning, maybe start small and learn how to do like maybe a mug and then something else bigger and bigger. Then when you get good at shipping, you can go ahead and jump into the big things. But definitely, learn how to ship. The biggest thing when it comes to that is having the correct box. In the beginning, we scavenged for boxes, which is perfectly fine. If you're going to like a Dollar Tree, Dollar General, something like that, they have decent boxes, but their crush rating is completely different than, say, if you buy it off Uline and you buy a good box that has a good crush rating. That's how much force it takes to actually crush the box. And a lot of times we were getting returns on electronics. What was happening was I was using a flimsy box with just paper and bubble wrap, but the box was failing. So now we buy those boxes from Uline and they make it. They this VCR combo units always make it. We use a 20 by 10 by 8, I think, and it always makes it. As long as you put it in bubble wrap, put some paper in it, and put it in that high quality box, it doesn't crush, it doesn't damage the thing inside, and it went down a lot in fees due to getting returns back. So Having the correct box is huge when it comes to this. You can scavenge for boxes. We buy all our boxes now, number one, because it takes a lot of time to go out there and source boxes, right? Unless you have somebody like giving them to you. But we buy all our boxes now. Time-wise, it's a lot faster. It is more expensive, but time is money in this game. Time is money. Not having an inventory system. This was one of my mistakes right off the bat. I know we've covered this a lot, so I'll quickly go through it. Your best bet is to start day one to have some sort of inventory system where you can find your items, because in my brain I was like, well, you know, I can find 500 items, because if you all remember in the beginning, this whole back wall here was my inventory system. There was just in shelves, nothing was put away. It was just things that were kind of like the same, were on the same shelf. That worked good all the way up to about 500 items. Then you start kind of figuring out like, oh my goodness, I don't know where this item is. Then not so much the items, but time goes by. 2, 3, 4, 5 years goes by, and you're like, might sell something from 4 years ago. You ain't gonna know where that is. You're just not. So that's why we have a whole different bin system now, a custom Skew system. That's super important. But that is a mistake that I see a lot of resellers make right off the bat. Then they get into it a little bit deeper, and the next thing you know, they can't find their orders. And if you have too many of those out of stock on eBay, that will actually hurt your store pretty bad. Not researching items correctly, sold versus listed. This is going to go under like not researching correctly also, because what happens is when you're in the store, you might quickly do a search, see, oh look, this thing's listed for 50 bucks or whatever, but there's none sold. There's 100 listed and 0 sold. That's not a good pickup. 100 listed and 50 sold, that's not bad. 100 listed and 100 sold, that's pretty good. 50 listed and 100 sold, even better. 0 listed and 100 sold, incredible sell-through rate. So make sure you're looking through the sell-through rate. All you have to do is just go down to the sold items. Now this doesn't work for every item. Things might be super rare and they're going to be the outliers, but for the most part, if you're looking it up on eBay, probably somebody has sold it before. Unless it's like super, super rare. Again, there's outliers. But for a generalization, if you see a whole bunch listed and you switch over to the sold and none have sold, probably not a good buy. Also, you have to look into condition. If yours is in super good condition, obviously it would sell a little bit better. But just learn the difference between things that are listed and things that are sold, because you want to pick up items with a fast sell-through rate, because that means they're good items. It means that they're in demand. And it's so easy to research that on eBay. So just once you figure that out, you can do it very quickly in the store. We use Google Lens a lot to take a picture of it. We'll go to eBay after Google Lens, hit the solds, see how many are sold. Then we'll go to listed, see how many are listed, and then we'll make our determination on exactly how much we think we can make on that item. Getting caught up in social media numbers and expectations. If you're watching this, that means you're on some sort of social media, right? You're on YouTube. Most likely you have a Facebook. Most likely if you have a Facebook, you have an Instagram. And there's people on there that show their 90 days at 100 grand. They show 5,000 sales and stuff like that. And that should be encouraging that, you know, this is what I think. Now, in the beginning, I didn't think this way. I actually got caught up in the numbers, especially, you know, when I was starting out. I was like, okay, this person's making 100 grand. That means I can make 100 grand. What I didn't know is they could be selling big items with big shipping costs, because you got to remember, when you show those items on eBay, that's not your actual profit. That's your gross sales, your cost of goods, your shipping. Everything is in that number. So if you're selling big items, right, huge items, heavy items with big shipping, man, your 90 days could be huge. Your 90 days could be $100,000, but you might only be taking home 20 in 90 days. So there's a big difference there. So just don't get caught up in that. I did, but I do also, because of Whatnot was a big issue in my brain too, when I would see people making, you know, tons of money on Whatnot. Now it's more of like an encouragement that, okay, Whatnot's bringing in this much revenue. There's buyers out there. That means that you could be a seller on that platform and make some money on it. So that's how I look at it now. I don't really pay attention. If people on these social medias, if they're constantly putting up their 90 days that they made, you know, $50,000 or $100,000, and they're only dropping their #1 videos on Instagram or whatever like that, oh, it's a flex. That's all it is. So that's all you have to take it as a grain of salt. But take it also as encouragement to say, okay, people are spending a lot of money on these platforms, and as a seller, you could get some of that money if you're selling the right items. So just don't get caught up in so much in social media about the expectations, because a lot of that stuff is inflated, and just be realistic for yourself. Figure out your goals and then strive to reach those goals and just leave everybody else. Just don't even worry about that. You know what I'm saying? Not having good bookkeeping. This hurt me for the first 2 years. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm very bad at taxes. I'm very bad at all that stuff that has to do with that. And what I did is we got a full-time bookkeeper and tax person now. And that's the best way for us. There are a lot of good things out there, good resources, like Reseller Genie is a good one that we've actually gone through with them. They're a good company, they're good people, and it does work. It's a way you can do your inventory, your taxes, your cost of goods, and all of that will be, for you. It's a good app on your phone that can actually really help your bookkeeping. It really, really can. There's also, we use QuickBooks a lot. I'm pretty sure, yeah, QuickBooks. And that was really helpful. We linked everything to, that's what I did the first 2. I linked everything to my company, like credit card, company, bank account, and everything like that. So I was able to it auto-filled in. Do you know what I'm saying? But still, I was still getting confused. It was a big stress on me when it had to do with bookkeeping and taxes because I just didn't know because it's the IRS. Who actually knows? Accountants, that's about it, right? So I was like, you know what? After Kayla came full-time, we started getting more money in more directions. I was like, we're getting a bookkeeper. Found a really good bookkeeper that we trust because they have access to all your stuff, right? You gotta trust them. And then we went from there. And then everything's, but starting out, if you're not good at taxes, look into getting professional help. If you are and you feel comfortable, those apps really do help out, or did help me out in the very beginning. Buying stuff you don't need. Again, this is going to go over people pushing stuff probably mostly on social media, and they're just like, hey, you need this, super fancy Rolo, and I have a link down below, and I have a Dymo link down below. What they're doing is they're getting kickbacks from, it's an affiliate link, which is fine. I'm not against affiliate links whatsoever. We have some, and we make a little money off affiliate links, and we much appreciate everybody that buys stuff using our links. We use GyroPack. They have cheap poly bags. That's why we like that company, because they literally have cheap poly bags, and it's an affiliate link, so we get a very small percentage of each sale that is on there that you use our code, and we thank you for that. But you need poly bags. You need cheap poly bags, right? But you don't need a $400 Dymo right off the rip. If you're making 5 sales a day, if you have a regular printer, just pop that stuff on there. And then when you realize that ink is too much money, or you're not having enough time, you're selling 10 to 15 to 20 items a day, probably need to step up to a thermo. You don't need an expensive Dymo. We have, I think it's like an IDP, got off Amazon for 89 bucks. I think they've gone up to like 109 bucks. That thing outdoes the Dymo every day, all day, with speed, not jamming. It's just, that's a good little machine. And it was way cheaper than all the ones that are promoted a lot. It's a good little company. I like them. We actually gave one away one time, and it works well. So you don't need fancy stuff. When I first got into it, people were talking about these light boxes. I went out and bought an expensive light box, and turns out I never used it. I actually gave it to my dad because we use bigger lights. Like there's a ring light in front of me right now, and then all we do is just put it on a table, take a picture of it, and that's the end of it. We do use Photo Room. With Photo Room, you don't need like a decluttered background. It just takes the background away. You just need some good lighting. So if that's going outside, if you have one ring light, just make sure you have some good lighting on that. And then we don't use a camera to take pictures. We just use our phone. So people are like, hey, you might need an expensive camera. That's not true. Just get a decent phone. You will need a decent phone for taking pictures. All basically newer phones are have decent cameras on them. So we just use our phone, but you will probably most likely need some sort of computer. My dad bought a computer actually off Amazon that was refurbished for like 105 bucks or something, and then a printer. I think you can buy printers for pretty cheap for 50 bucks. So you can get up and running probably for 150 to 200 bucks. His computer works fine, his printer works fine. He does have a thermal printer now because he's making more sales, but you don't need expensive stuff is what I'm saying. So don't get into the hype of buying a whole bunch of this expensive gear. Reselling is one of the things that you can get into for very little overhead, because a lot of times you can sell the stuff around your house. So you need inventory, because I guarantee you got stuff around your house that you don't use that people on eBay will buy from you. Another thing, overpaying for inventory or not spending enough. When you're going out there, it's going under research. You get caught up in the moment in these yard sales, and you think you see something really good and you overpay for it. You make your money on the buy, you don't make your money on the sale. So you need to go ahead and make sure you're getting your inventory at a reasonable cost where after taxes, fees, shipping costs, the box it goes in, All that items, that should be going through your head when you're looking at something to say, how much am I actually gonna profit for this? Say, if you're looking at something that's 50 bucks and it sells on eBay for $100 free shipping, you ain't gonna make a lot of money on that because it's free shipping, you're already spending 50 bucks on it, and then you have to pay fees on top of that. Then if you promote it or run a sale, that's even less money that you're gonna make, right? So what you have to do is think, okay, I need to get this for $10, and then hit them at 10. Say, I got 10 bucks for you. They're gonna mostly say no, but they might say yes. That's all I'm saying. So just make sure you're not overpaying for your inventory. Actually, we have ran into not so much overpaying for inventory, but not spending enough when we see a good deal. This is, maybe you don't have the money for it, and that's perfectly fine. You need to stay in your ability to pay for things, right? But a lot of times, especially early on, we did have some money for inventory because we invested everything in the first 2 to 3 years right back into the business. So we had money for inventory. We'd be at a yard sale, 4 come to mind right off the rip in my head, and I didn't buy everything at the yard sale. I should have. Everything was a good price. Now my mindset is, if it's good deal for one, it's probably a good deal for all. One was a Harley Davidson estate sale. Everything was Harley Davidson. He was cutting deals. I guarantee you I could have walked out with everything in that estate sale for a good deal. I only bought the clothing. Doesn't make any sense to me. I should have went ahead and just bought everything at that yard sale and then made my money on the back end, because it's just one of those things. It's hard because when you're starting out, it's kind of scary when you're at the yard sales. You know, 20 bucks ain't too scary. 50 bucks is getting a little bit more scary, but you start talking thousands of bucks at a yard sale, it does mess with your mind a little bit, but you can't, you got to really just go through that calculations of how much profit can I make. And we have a big issue, probably still, Kayla and I both still have an issue with spending a ton of money at one yard sale. Getting in a hurry and not listing correctly. This is guilty a lot on this one. Is what happens is, in the beginning, I'm hurrying up, right? I'm trying to be fast because I'm like, I got to get listings up. I'm going to get 50 listings up a day. And what I'm doing is I'm selling similar on eBay, which is fine. That's the fastest way to do it. You look up something, I would look up, this Logitech mouse, and then find one that is the same thing, hit sell similar, and go from there. But what I always, in the beginning, would mess up on was be the description part of it, where the item specifics are. They might have put something in there that is not correct. Maybe they sold similar on their item, and then it was actually the wrong item that they never fixed. Well, then somebody would buy my item and say, hey, in the item specific, it said that it was yellow, and it was a picture of a black mouse. But the thing is that it's still going to be your fault. And I've had a whole bunch of returns from that. It's just take your time when you're listing, get a good rhythm down, learn how to you have your process of actually listing things. And once you get that done, speed will come in, later on. But it's way better in the beginning to be slower and way more accurate when it comes to your description, when it comes to your item specifics, when it comes to your titles. I've had titles completely wrong, where I don't know what I was looking at. Completely wrong title for the actual picture, and it's just one of those things. It was because I was hurrying up. I was trying to be too fast. So just accuracy in the beginning is way better. Accuracy overall is way better, but your speed will come as time goes on with listing. But in the beginning, it might take you 5 to 10 minutes to list one item. That's okay, because a year from now, it might take you 1 minute to list that same item, but your accuracy will be a lot better. So just be careful with that. Another one is, Kayla's a big one on this one, and so am I, is not looking the items over properly. This is mostly going to be going for clothing items, shoes, clothes, stuff that can have stains on it. We all know that thrift stores do not have the best lighting. Yard sales, usually you're outside, especially down here, but in estate sales, you're usually in some dim house that has terrible lighting with one flickering light in the corner, and you can't see nothing, right? So if you can get it out to a better lighting, use your phone because most phones have flashlights, take a look at that and see if you see some stains. If we could get back, that would be probably our most issue, is that we still make this mistake, especially in Goodwills. We get excited, we don't check the shoes properly. I get home, the sole's falling apart. It's like, how did I miss this in the store, right? And so just one of those things, make sure you're looking over your items, because you can lose a ton of money when it comes to that. Because you gotta think, if you go to the Goodwill and buy 4 pairs of shoes, and 2 of them are damaged beyond repair and you can't return them, you've really upped the cost of your other 2 shoes. because you have to now make more money on those 2 good shoes. So you see what I'm saying there? It is a slippery slope, and just make sure that you're checking your shoes, everything. Now, electronics are kind of hard to check. We have a return policy when it comes to Goodwill. Yard sales, it's a gamble. Yard sale electronics are a huge gamble. That's why if you watch our other channel, the Bearded Thrift Machine, I don't like to pay a lot for yard sale electronics, because it's a 50-50 chance if they work. They might say, oh, it's brand new. That stuff ain't brand new. Or they might say, that's a real Michael Kors. That stuff ain't a real Michael Kors. You know what I'm saying? So you really got to learn how to check your items good. That comes with me. I think that comes with experience. But in the beginning, just kind of be skeptical about what anybody says. They say it's brand new. Show me the box. Show me that it's still factory sealed or whatever. Because I'm telling you right now, it ain't brand new. Because you know what they're going to say? It's brand new. Only used once. Son, that don't mean it's brand new. So that's a good one to know. Also, another one is in the beginning, we were, if you have really like items, say like golf clubs, right? This is a good one because Kayla has sent out the wrong golf club, but it's so similar, right? Because you can have a tailor-made 56-degree sand wedge, and one shaft is regular and one shaft is stiff, and the only difference on this golf club is a small little letter on the shaft itself that will tell you that. And everything else is the exact same. Looks exactly the same. The wear marks can even be the same on the golf club. This is why, and then that you would send out the wrong golf club. This is why we custom skew everything, especially when it comes to like items. Now, we don't custom skew all our everything, because you know, if you have like a mug, you don't have the same exact mug. We don't custom skew that. Like, we just know where it is. It's on a shelf that has a number on it, and there's the mug. But stuff like golf clubs or tools, all of them have their own number. So when I list them, I go down to the custom skew area, I type in a custom skew, then I usually tape the number on the item, and then it's very easy to not get a mistake. If you don't have that, it takes a lot longer to find the item, and then there's a lot more leeway to make a mistake, and then that again will get a return. So the next one is going to be don't fall for scams. Now, scams are few and far between after a certain amount of time on eBay. But in the beginning, when you first start your store, you first start listing your stuff, you will get a ton of scam messages. You will get a lot of them. Just be prepared for that. Don't give anybody your phone number. Don't call nobody. Don't switch addresses. Don't do nothing. Go strictly by eBay policy in the beginning. And then like a couple months later on, like they'll die out and you won't get any more, like, you'll still get scammers that will be like, hey, call this number, blah, blah, blah. Don't do any of that. But it does die down. But in the beginning, like when my dad started his eBay store, he was calling me like every day, hey, this guy wants me to do this. Don't do that. Just, no. Work with eBay policy, do exactly what they tell you, and then eventually that will fade out. There's not, and don't be afraid of scams too, because really we've sold a ton of things on eBay, and we've only had like 2 or 3 send back the wrong item, and this is for thousands and thousands and thousands of items sold. We've sold gold, silver, we've sold a ton of expensive stuff on eBay, and very seldom do we have returns, very seldom do we have scams, but they are out there, so just protect yourself. But in the beginning, when you first start, you will get a ton of them. You really, really will. Just work with eBay policy, say, no, this is what has to happen, you buy it, I send it to you, that's the end of it. And then the other one is, number 13, is knowing the big words. There's a list called a Vero list on eBay, which basically means that you can't use certain words, or companies don't like you selling certain things. The list is gigantic, it's huge. The list doesn't even matter because there's some things that you're gonna Vero on that aren't even on the list, but some of the big words that are automatically will get you in trouble that we've used that immediately got Veroed: onesie, pop socket, Velcro, Chick-fil-A Veroed us, Honda Auto Parts Veroed us, and then Apple actually counterfeit Veroed us about some what do they call it? AirPods? iPods? EarPods? We still sell Apple things. They just said that they were counterfeit. I don't think that they were, but they didn't like that they were brand new or something. But the big ones right off the rip were onesie, pop socket, Velcro, and Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A Veroed us. So just, there's a ton of them out there. Don't be worried about it, but know the ones that are 100% going to get you in trouble, and do not use them. There's some things that you're not supposed to sell that's all over YouTube about things that, you know, people have been banned for and everything like that. Just make sure you know the general policy of eBay and these words that you're really not supposed to use, because they will go ahead and just take that listing down. And then another mistake is don't try to circumvent it, right? If they take something down, don't repost it just with a different like title or something like that. Once they've taken the listing down, especially for counterfeit or something like that, don't try to post it again, because then you're not learning anything, and they will and can suspend your entire like eBay store. So once we get a posting taken down for a certain reason, like the Honda parts, we didn't repost the Honda parts because then they could suspend us, right? Because they gave us a warning. They said, don't be doing that. Psh, stop it. And then if we did it again, then they would probably suspend our eBay, and that's our livelihood. That's what we, you know, how we make a living is through eBay sales. So that was just 13 not so quick, because I think this video is like over 20 minutes, not so quick things. But once you master some of these, really there's a ton of money to be made out there, either full-time, part-time, if you're doing it just to, you know, go on vacations like my parents, if you're retired and you're like, hey, I'm bored and I need some extra money, this is perfect. It really is. You can start with low overhead. You know, once you get a knowledge of, you know, what sells, I'm telling you right now, people spend money on eBay on the craziest stuff. So I do appreciate y'all watching. Remember, if you have not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you all